The Las Vegas Raiders have spent the better part of 2 decades stuck in the NFL's most dangerous place, the middle. Not bad enough to fully reset, not good enough to seriously contend. Every year, the organization talks about competing, about honoring the legacy of Al Davis and the just win baby ethos. Yet every offseason tells the same story: half measures, short term fixes, and an unwillingness to fully commit to a clear direction. That is why the idea of trading Maxx Crosby, the face of the franchise, even exists in the first place. And it is also why the proposed Joe Burrow for Crosby mega trade would represent the Raiders losing the plot entirely. To understand why, you first have to understand where the Raiders actually are right now. Not where fans hope they are, not where ownership wishes they were, but where the roster, draft capital, and competitive reality place them. The 2025 season was a breaking point. Las Vegas wasn't just disappointing, it was awful. The team lacked talent at premium positions, lacked depth, and most critically, lacked a long-term answer at quarterback. Years of patchwork solutions finally caught up to them. By season's end, the Raiders held the #1 overall pick, were preparing to welcome a young head coach, and had a rare opportunity to reset the franchise from the ground up. That is what a rebuild looks like. Not retooling. Not one player away. A rebuild. In that context, trading Maxx Crosby is painful, but logical. Elite pass rushers are incredibly valuable, but they are most valuable to teams that are ready to win. Crosby is entering his prime now. By the time the Raiders are realistically ready to compete again, assuming a rookie quarterback, multiple draft classes, and real roster development, Crosby may already be past his peak or carrying the physical toll of years spent carrying bad defenses. So yes, trading Crosby for a massive haul of draft picks could make sense. It would be an admission of reality, a declaration that the Raiders are done pretending and ready to build properly. What does not make sense is pairing that move with the acquisition of Joe Burrow. The proposed trade from a Bengals-centric outlet lays out an almost comical imbalance. Cincinnati would receive Maxx Crosby, the #1 overall pick in 2026, 2 additional first-rounders, 2 second-round picks, and 3 third-round picks. Las Vegas would receive Joe Burrow. On paper, Burrow is an elite quarterback when healthy. No one disputes that. He's accurate, tough, calm under pressure, and proven on the biggest stage. If the Raiders were a quarterback away from contention, the conversation might at least be worth having, but they are not. Burrow is 29 and will turn 30 next season. He has suffered 3 major injuries and missed 16 games over the past 2 years. His style of play, brave to the point of reckless, exposes him to hits, and his injury history is no longer theoretical risk. It is a pattern. More importantly, if Burrow were truly worth this kind of historic haul, there is a simple question that destroys the logic of the deal. Why would the Bengals trade him? Franchises do not trade elite quarterbacks entering their prime unless something is fundamentally broken. Cincinnati would not move Burrow so they can draft a replacement and start over unless they believed the gap between Burrow and that rookie was manageable. And if that is the case, why wouldn't the Raiders simply draft their own quarterback and keep both Crosby and their picks? That contradiction alone should end the conversation. Beyond that, the opportunity cost is staggering. 8 day 1 and day 2 draft picks is not just aggressive, it is franchise malpractice for a rebuilding team. That kind of draft capital represents years of cheap, controllable talent at multiple positions. Giving it up would leave the Raiders with no first or second round picks for 2 full drafts and severely limit their ability to build depth even beyond that. You do not trade that kind of capital unless you are pushing all your chips in for a Super Bowl run right now. And that is where the entire proposal collapses. If the Raiders trade Crosby, they are acknowledging they are not in a Super Bowl window. Crosby is their best defensive player, their emotional leader, and one of the few true stars on the roster. Removing him weakens an already thin defense and signals a long-term vision. Adding Burrow does the opposite. It accelerates the timeline, it demands immediate results, it creates expectations that the roster, especially without Crosby, simply cannot meet. You cannot rebuild and contend at the same time. Those paths are mutually exclusive. This is especially true given the state of the AFC. The conference is loaded with young elite quarterbacks on rookie or early career contracts. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Drake May, the path to contention is increasingly clear. Draft a quarterback, build around him with premium picks, and take advantage of the salary cap window before the massive second contract hits. Trading for Burrow does the opposite. It locks the Raiders into a massive veteran contract while stripping away the resources needed to support him. It creates the illusion of competitiveness without the substance to back it up. The exact mistake this franchise has made repeatedly. General Manager John Spytek has openly emphasized the importance of draft picks. That is not coach speak. That is philosophy. Picks are flexibility. Picks are margin for error. Picks are how teams escape mediocrity instead of recycling it. Giving up that many picks would leave no room for mistakes, injuries, or developmental setbacks. One bad season, one Burrow injury, one failed free agent class, and the Raiders would be trapped, capped out, talent poor, and without a way out. That is not bold. That is reckless. A smarter path is painfully obvious, even if it is emotionally difficult. Draft a quarterback. Build the roster patiently. If Crosby is traded, make sure the return reflects his value. Multiple first-round picks, clean and simple. Use those picks to restock premium positions. Accept short-term pain for long-term clarity. This is not about punting on winning. It is about finally choosing a direction and committing to it. For once, the Raiders have alignment, a top pick, a new coaching staff, financial flexibility, and a chance to reset expectations. Squandering that opportunity by chasing a name-brand quarterback would be repeating the same mistake under a different banner. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. He is not a solution for a team that isn't ready to win. Trading Crosby signals a rebuild. Trading for Burrow signals a win-now push. Doing both at once would be organizational schizophrenia. Trying to live in two timelines simultaneously and succeeding in neither. If Las Vegas truly wants to escape the cycle that has defined it since the early 2000s, it must resist the temptation of shortcuts. There are no shortcuts out of mediocrity, only discipline, patience, and a willingness to start over the right way. Stick to the plan, draft the quarterback, use the picks, reset the roster. The Raiders lost too much in 2025 to pretend otherwise. The Las Vegas Raiders have spent the better part of 2 decades stuck in the NFL's most dangerous place, the middle. Not bad enough to fully reset, not good enough to seriously contend. Every year, the organization talks about competing, about honoring the legacy of Al Davis and the just win baby ethos. Yet every offseason tells the same story: half measures, short-term fixes, and an unwillingness to fully commit to a clear direction. That is why the idea of trading Maxx Crosby